Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We have a big Battlegrounds update today, and I'm here with my duo partner SaphirexX to discuss the changes. So, should be pretty insightful. So, without further ado, how you doing, Seth?
I am doing fine. How are you doing, Collins?
I'm doing okay. We haven't really been able to play in the last for the patch since due to issues, but hopefully we'll get started soon.
Yeah, probably on
On
Friday morning
Friday,
we'll start grinding it.
yeah. So Friday, we'll get through that anyway
All
when it
right, all
comes to
right.
it. Yeah. But yeah, let's get started. So, Def Comment, there's been a ton of changes this patch with the general goal of providing more options for play. That's always good. This is by lowering the power of some popular cards and strategies like Loc Prince and Ultraviolet and Beetles while buffing some underrepresented archetypes, Demons, Jargas, Nagas. We've also brought back some old favorites to open up more synergies. We have more content aware and looking forward to sharing more soon. See you in the tower. So the standard thing, nerf the good things, buff the bad things. Hopefully they do a good job. Right? Sometimes the issues is that they don't know what the good things actually are, so they buff things, and it's like this isn't the what people are actually playing at the highest levels. But we'll get through it and see if they did a good job and things like that. But yeah,
I immediately noticed that I didn't see Quilboar on there.
yeah, I do think Quilboars are less prevalent in solos, and I do think they are coming through with a solo lens. So I wouldn't be surprised if they miss a decent number of solo specific things, which is kind of sad. But we'll get through it right and see. But yeah, Quilboars are pretty strong in solos, not as oppressive in duos. I mean, in Quilboars pretty strong in duos, not oppressive in solos. Um, so generally have carpool changes. Outback Smolder, Razor Gore, the Untamed, Arcane Cannoneer, Mercury have been removed from the minion pool. Anything impactful that you care about here?
Honestly, no. I
No.
think the
Okay.
best card on there is
The Cannoneer.
probably either the Cannoneer or the Smolderer. It's
How
fine to get
how
your
often did you
turn
really
4.
use this to make triples? Like you're lying to yourself if you think you
Not super often, but it's a fine triple to miss into if you take a 4-drop on 4 because it just means that you're gonna have a 6-drop a few turns later.
Yeah, I guess. Okay. I wasn't impressed by any of these.
No,
Slyther Spear, Lord of Gain, Salty Hog, Amber Guardian, Hawkstrider, Herald, and Stormbringer have been returned to the minion pool, all with adjustments. Stormbringer was the other one I didn't really know from the get go, but it's that
Mhm.
14 health dragon that we'll see in the future. And then Herald coming back is a little scary. This one is like, huh. And the others are fine to me.
Yeah, I think
Hmm.
we'll have to see what they do to Hawkstrider because they said they were bringing it back with it. They were nerfing it. I think
Hmm.
before it was a 5-drop that just triggered every single battle cry on your board at the start of the turn.
Yeah,
So we'll see what
something
they
like that, yeah.
or at the start of the combat. Sorry. So we'll see what they end up doing to it. But it's definitely scary to with beetles with I think even more specifically than beetles. I think with like Catacomb Crasher specifically and
Hmm.
undead comps being
Hmm.
in. That's what I'm worried about more so than actual beetles with it.
Yeah, it, it's. I don't think they're gonna do anything to make it minion type specific, where it's only affects beasts. So
Yeah.
I do think most of the time it's going to be seen in non-beast compositions. Though you can still play it in beast. I think there's a lot of like non-beast stuff you could do with trigger. It's kind of like a Titus, right? So because you get to trigger it and then it's still on the board so you can trigger it again, right? So kind of like
Yeah.
adding another Titus that scales with Titus, kind of like
But
Boar.
non-conditional.
Yeah. So and always at the start of your turn, right? So
Yeah,
you have
that's why I mean non-conditional, because
okay.
like, your Titus can get sniped or the Death Rattle cannot die, but with Hawkstride, it doesn't matter because you
Yeah.
always get
So
value.
yeah, so it seems pretty scary to me. All right, let's go to the actual changes. First time we have Forest Rover. So this one's going from a 4-2 to a 5-2, and your battle cries is going down from 2-1 this game to 1-1 this game. So a pretty impactful nerf for Forest Rover.
Mhm.
You're losing the one extra attack per scaling.
Yeah, I think that's if I had to guess with Hawkstrider coming back, that's probably gonna be the theme that we see where all the things, the ones that give 2-1, the ones that give 1-2, for the 4-drop, like, I think those things will probably take a hit, but so basically what you're doing is you're making them weaker early, and you're making the floor lower, but with having Hawkstrider, you're making them stronger later and having the ceiling higher.
See, but I don't think that's true for this one, right? Because the Hawkstrider only triggers the Death Rattle portion of this card, so it only triggers the Summon the Beetle, which does nothing.
Right, right.
So
It triggers
it's
the right.
sure okay, whatever. I guess
I mean,
so.
you only run this card with Rylac, right? Like that's the whole point of this card. That's how you scale the Beetles. Is Rylac plus this.
Fair. Still doesn't really feel like it's that impactful. Ruined Prognitioner went from Avenge 4 to Avenge 3, basically. Gained an extra health, but Avenge 3 is much stronger than Avenge 4, so
Yep.
not a lot of people are really using this card to scale in our lobbies. So I don't know how much it matters.
With it being Avenge 4, like best case scenario, you get like 2 procs.
2 procs, yeah.
That's like best case. Most of the time it was 1.
Yeah. Avenge 3, maybe you get 3 procs if you're lucky.
Yeah, I think this card of all the cards for Beetles, it's the one that needed the buff, so I'm okay with this.
Yeah. And then we have Skitter also going from 1-2 to 1-1, so kind of the same downside. Kind of makes it feel like it's not as good as the 3-cost one, right? Like this one.
I mean, the difference is this one scales on its own. The other one,
needs another card,
another 4-drop to make it scale. So
yeah,
I don't think this one necessarily needed to be nerfed, if I'm being honest. But
well, apparently Beetles are doing very well, right? That they're saying we specifically want to nerf Beetles. So
okay. I guess it's a solo queue thing, right? Like in duos, Beetles don't hardly ever they basically never win in our.
We lost to Beetles recently. I remember that game.
So I said basically never.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
For every one time we lose to Beetles, we beat them 15 or 16 times probably.
I don't think that's true, but
how many games this season have we lost to Beetles? Like 2, 3?
I don't know. It's probably like it's way more. You tend to forget our losses. You know.
Let me say more specifically. How many times were we heads up against Beetles at the end and lost to them? I'm not talking about like turn 8.
So that's a very specific. Like I don't know how.
If we've played 300 games,
we're getting off track. All right.
Here's Hawkstrider.
Yeah. So now we have Hawkstrider, old start of combat, trigger all friendly death rattles. Now it is trigger your leftmost. So kind of like the Macaw fix to just do leftmost death rattles. Triggers 2 of them, and then go to 1 triggers 2 twice. So I mean, honestly, I don't think that does much. I feel like it's still going to be same level. It's also a tier 6 though.
Oh, so it's a tier 5. I remember this was a 5 drop.
Yeah, it used to be a 5 drop.
Interesting.
So now it's a tier 6 card, so this is like what Goldrin should be doing, right? Like actually helping Beetles in some capacity. But I think you're gonna play this in like Catacomb Crasher comps. Or maybe even like the Naga Death Rattle that buffs Nagas. Like I can see this not being played in Beetles at all and being played in other compositions. Fortunately,
I feel like this card replaces the 4-drop that scales 3/3 permanently whenever you summon something without space for it.
I never liked that card in yours, so it doesn't bother me at all.
Like I feel like ideally the comp then would be like Golden Macaw, 2 things that have death rattles that summon a bunch of things. This card, Titus or 2 Tituses, and Crasher or 2 Crashers.
Yeah, I mean, you run this card. I mean, yeah, it just feels like a easy addition to the Catacomb Crusher comp and makes it stronger and more consistent. So, that's where I likely think we'll be seeing a lot of this card. But you can also use it in Beetles, of course. But that's not like the best use of the card. And then there's like other niche combos you can maybe use it in Quilboars with 3-low Quilboar. Like essentially this is like a Titus. That's how I kind of look at it. Like it's a Titus that synergizes with Titus.
So how much does a regular one add then in permanent scaling? Let's say you have the golden 3-drop which summons 6 and you have any other minion that summons 3.
I don't want to do the math. Sure, but it's a lot. It's meaningful enough.
It's 18/18 at the start of the turn.
Sure. With a Titus, it's double that, right? So
no, that's what Titus. That's with Titus.
Oh. You sure?
Yeah, because you'd get 6 from the golden 3-drop, and then you'd get 3 from whichever minion you're. There's a million minions that summon 3 whenever they die, so you can realistically get about 9.
But that's
and
with
then
one catachrome, not like a golden one.
Yeah, that's 1 catacomb, 1 Titus, and
Yeah.
1 regular hero.
And you're not including it. The minion dies and also.
Yeah. I'm saying that's like the start of combat scaling that you get permanently.
Yeah,
Like,
but
that happens.
but
for
it's
any
way
combat.
bigger. Like the potential, you could get like 100 across the turn.
Yeah. During the combat, yes. I'm saying
Yeah.
like I'm talking like this is like what happens at the start of the turn before anything even happens. You just get 18 for free, scaling permanently.
You know what it
And
reminds me of? Gula Cabra, old Gula Cabra.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could
100%.
I could see this getting adjusted or in some way. It just seems
When you
kind of
just stack the menaces on 1 magnetic and caught.
Yeah. But
Yeah, it's like the thing is like this is gonna be a problem in undead lobbies. Like Beast Undead is already a
yeah.
problem. It's gonna be worse now. I don't think this is actually gonna be that strong. We'll see, obviously, but like I'm not as worried about beetles, which is what this card I think is intended for. I'm worried about undead.
I don't think I would be worried about Beetles. Like Beetles, but once again in duos, right? Beetles were never a problem, and Beast like and Catacomb was always good, and you just make Catacomb better. So it's more likely like the Catacomb just got better. It's going to be more of a problem than the Beetles that were never an issue. So
I wonder if this ever allows for Goldrun to be playable.
like if you get I mean, you need multiple 6s, right? That's the issue. You need
Yeah.
Herald plus Goldrun, which are both 6-drops, plus, and then like Titus
And
on top.
Titus.
Yeah, and then like you have a board, but it falls off. Like it's probably playable for sure if you got both, and then, but it's not like you can. I mean, I guess you could still like fully index into Goldrun and see if it's enough. I mean, if you have two Goldruns, because you could
Right.
trigger both, yeah, and I guess so with a Titus.
It'd be 16-16.
It's just a lot.
Then they die.
Yeah.
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 We'll see. Probably not, but it's interesting
I
because
mean,
Goldrun hasn't been playable in a while.
if you have two, like if you have two Goldruns, I think so. Yeah, it works. But I think if you have two, any synergy will probably work.
Is there anything else before we move on that you can think of that this would be useful with? Like
The Naga
triggering...
Death Rattle and the Quilboar Death Rattle.
Okay.
I mean,
I don't know about the
anything with
Naga.
Titus, you know, like honestly, anything you'd play Titus with.
Yeah, I'm not sure if is the Naga even playable even with this? Maybe.
It is. I mean, you.
3 little Quilboar for sure. The problem with 3 little Quilboar is if you're running, say you're running 3 little Quilboars and a Titus and a Hawkstrider, you only really have 2
But the
minions.
thing is, you buff yourself. It's fine. Like it buffs itself. So you just have huge 3 little Quilboars or huge Nagas because they'll just hit themselves because they don't die. So they scale themselves. So it's fine.
Yeah.
So you'll have 5 minions. Right, like if you're running this and Titus, and then 2 of those Death Rattles, they'll skill themselves, and then 3 random minions. And I think it's fine.
Okay. Archimonde is getting changed again.
Yeah, they've just removed the button on less than 1, but now it's a tier 5. So now you can go into 0. Again,
Okay.
yeah. So this is
So
what people wanted.
Yeah, they brought back the APM aspect of it.
Yeah. This is what people wanted. So demons might be playable with this again.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially since they brought back the what's it called? The Bazaar Dealer? Or
Sure.
the 2/4 on Tavern 4 that lets you buy a demon for free for
Oh, that one,
health
yeah.
instead of gold.
I was
There's a
looking,
couple other.
seeing if I was gonna see it, but yeah. But yeah, Archimonde seems like helpful. Demons haven't been playable really, except for Nether Construct, so this might help demons see more play. Next thing we have Big Brother, going from tier 3 to tier 4, but now it's +1/+2, so +1/+1.
Something else that helps with the Archimonde buff as well.
You think so? This helps Archimonde?
Yeah, because whenever you're casting infinite spells over the course of your turn, you're getting 1/2 to the Tavern instead of 1/1.
Right, if
Basically
you're
32%
going
more
right, I
scaling.
could see that. Yeah.
So basically, you'd run like Bran, Archimonde, Big Brother, a couple of damage dealing demon cards like the buy a free one or Prince Malgazar or whatever, and then you can run Felbat at the end to buff all of those cards at the end by like what 15, 30-ish.
Yeah, it might be reasonable.
Without any other scaling.
Yeah, I could see it being pretty good. And then next up we have Turcondrius, so going from 3/3 to 3/6, so that's helpful. And then going from 1/1 scaling for your demons to 2/1 scaling for your demons. I think the base health needed a buff in the first, so this one is like I'm over like for sure. And then the 2/1, I don't know if it's enough to make this playable, but it's a start in the right direction.
If they made this a 6/6, would this still would this be playable?
Just base 6/6.
Base 6/6, yeah.
So you just
Like
buy it for
give it
whatever.
Well-Wisher stats, right? Like Well-Wisher base stats.
Maybe. I mean, it's not. It's the base stats aren't the thing holding it back, of course, right? But you'd be more likely to take it, right? 3/3 was like for a 5-drop was disgusting. So
I'm just trying to figure out like even with it being 2/1, can you fit this into a comp with like APM Archimonde pirates or demons?
I don't know because I think 2/2 is too much, right? So that's the issue, right? Like I feel like 2/2 is too much, so it has to be like 2/1 or 1/2, and 2/1 is like the easier one to do.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this card for a while and saying it needs a buff. Like at least they did give it a buff. We'll see if it's enough.
Yeah. Nether Drake's going from tier 5 to tier 4. You think this matters in duos?
Nope.
No. Just dragons aren't the strongest thing in duos, but there's a lot of dragon changes, so maybe this will help. Ember Guardian going from tier 4 to tier 3. It's helpful. You lose 1/1 on your buff, but who really cares? So this used to be what it was before until they nerfed it because they nerfed it straight from 3 to 5, but then no one played it anymore. But the real reason it got nerfed was because of
Ergoso?
No, the tier 5 dragon, right? They can't hit itself anymore.
Oh, the one that
the buffs attacks.
The buffs, yeah.
That's the real reason you don't see a lot of that type of dragon come anymore.
I mean, it's back in the game, right? So
Yeah, but it doesn't hit itself.
true.
Which
Nightbane.
Nightbane, right? So since it can't hit itself, you can't play 2 Nightbanes to pump each other, and since it's also tier 5 instead of tier 4, it's a lot harder to find. So kind of rough. Same thing, right? Prize Primer also got nerfed, but they moved it back to tier 4 and gave it tier 4 stats, which is reasonable.
Yeah, they're basically just putting these cards back to what they were.
Yeah, because no one was playing dragons at all, so they're trying to bring it back.
Although I think wasn't Amber 3/3 on Tavern 3?
Yeah, I mean they're nerfing it, whatever. It's fine. It doesn't change how you look at the card, in my opinion. So
yeah.
And you could say at 3/3 it was overtuned anyway, so I'm fine.
Stormbringer.
Stormbringer, yeah. So this card is old. I don't remember this card too
Very
much.
old.
Yeah. They changed it from tier 4 1/9 to tier 5 1/14. I mean, I think you can make this card have a ton of attack.
Yeah, so I see what they're going for. They're going for kind of a mid-range build where you're pretty strong in like turns 6, 7, 8, 9, and basically you kind of run the old Nightbane comp where you pick up Poet, you pick up Divine Shields, and you can pick up the Stormbringer to put into it, and then basically your entire board is Divine Shielded because of Poet, and you just try to get as much attack as possible on your Nightbane. Even though Nightbane doesn't buff itself anymore, you can still, if you have 30, 40, 50 attack on it, say you have, you could even have like undead scaling, right, to give it attack. Then you can run like a full divine shielded board where you have like Stormbringer or 2 Stormbringers that are like basically poison with divine shield.
Yeah, it feels very mid gamey where it's strong
100%.
in the mid game, but doesn't win the late game, which isn't that good in duos. So I'm not.
You need the game to end on like turn 10 or 11 for it to.
Yeah, if everyone is playing hard tempo and you're the strongest hard tempo, you can win. But that's not a consistent strategy to rely on in duos. Hunter of Gatherers moving from tier 4 to tier 5. That helps a lot because it kind of cuts the Murloc Dragon synergy of like Loc Prince and scale
Yeah.
Loc Prince. So this is a big change for duos. This is a massive, like, important, like the most important change we've seen so far.
Yeah.
Um, and,
Agreed.
and then whenever this gains attack, you gain 2 health. So kind of what it used to be, but they was like too strong, so they nerfed it. But
Yeah, it looks like they're trying to move it to more of a Caligos
more of
card.
a Caligos card, yeah. I would agree with that. But I think it's fine. Caligos hasn't been high priority, so
Yeah. So if you think about it, Caligos is 1/2 now, right?
yeah.
Instead of 1/1, and this gives 2 health. So if you have a brand,
Yeah, it's a lot.
you're
It's
essentially
just
giving
8
8 health
health,
for every
yeah.
battle cry.
Yeah. That's just a lot, so
Yeah, 2/8 is what you get for
yeah,
every battle
yeah.
cry.
I think Caligos with this is gonna be actually pretty good. It's just a lot of stats you're getting for free. And
Yeah.
health is like very important, so
It kind of feels like it would like it kind of feels like your stat line would be similar to that of like a Quilboar board where you have like, 6
6
15 gems or whatever.
yeah. That's well, yeah, something like that. But yeah, I think good change. The biggest change tier 4 to tier 5, good change for me.
This is the one that I'm the most happy with so far. The other ones, in my opinion, have just been like
Flavor.
fine.
Yeah.
Like I don't think they've been like terrible, but they've just been fine. Like this one, I actually think is like necessary.
For duos at least.
Yeah,
Dune Dweller is now a battle cry.
sure.
I mean, sure, yeah.
I mean, it's better. It's better than it was, right? Like it's not good,
Sure.
but it's it's better.
It's better in the early game when you don't want to sell your Dune Dweller turn 1. I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, even like if for some miracle reason I mean, I guess if you're playing like, is there a comp where you can play APM and also buff the shop? Like, not really, but like, because you're either playing the 6 drop where you're
Maybe
just like,
Arcamonde.
or you're playing.
Arcamonde maybe. Maybe.
Okay, sure. I guess if you pick it up off of like a genie or something randomly, it's better. If you're playing like the cycle comp that buffs the
Yeah.
shop and eats it.
Meteor Crasher going from selling a minion gain 2/2 to gain 3/3. That seems huge. That seems like this will just be your massive minion if you're playing any elemental thing.
Yeah.
3/3 Ellie. That's a lot.
I guess is this
It's still a
is this
3-drop,
this
yeah.
is, yeah, this is aimed at Nomi, I'm assuming, not so much Ultraviolet.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Ultraviolet doesn't really
Oh,
care.
Nomi's below it.
Yeah, Nomi's here. Yeah. Nomi's now 2-1 and so on.
Okay. Probably still terrible, but
Whoa, hey. I will find out for you guys if it's bad. Let me tell you that. It's still not an element or anything, but yeah.
I would like it more if it was 1/2 than 2/1.
Yeah, I mean 1/2 is the more premium style line for sure. Caligos got the nice, but Caligos is 6-drop, so
Sure.
Nomi can deal
But
with it.
Caligos also buffs your board, not the shop, which is much better.
Would you? I mean, that would basically ultraviolet though, right? If
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and ultraviolet is a 6-drop, so And speaking of ultraviolet, by the way,
Oh, it
uh,
also got changed.
they nerfed it actually. So it got 1 health, but
Oh, it doesn't buff itself
it
anymore.
does not buff itself anymore.
I think that's pretty reasonable.
It is reasonable. The card was kind of overtuned, so
Yeah. I think it's still going to be very strong.
yeah,
Even
I agree
with
with
that.
that.
But it means that you have one less combat.
One
effective
less
card on your
minion,
board.
basically. Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. Hollow Rover loses his divine shield. Basically, this is what
Oh
that's
no.
Still, like you can still just give a divine shield and pants it. It's the same. So I don't know. I don't feel and it has better base stats. I don't really feel like you're losing that much. Honestly, like maybe the first like 2 turns you're losing it, and then as soon as it gives you
Yeah.
the shield, you're like, oh, I'm back to before. I guess the most important thing, actually, the actual thing that matters is the revive, is the reborn. So once you're reborn, it doesn't come back with shield and like get guaranteed an extra attack. So that's like
Right.
the main downside, I think. Yeah.
And you have to find pants.
Sure. I mean, you're gonna shield everything. It's not. I don't think it's also gonna be first. Like whatever. I don't think that's the biggest issue. Again, a lot of times you also have Wind Fury, So like honestly, I don't think this pants matters all that much, but it it is notable if you're running like 2 of them, I guess.
Marquee Ticketer is a
Yeah.
1/5 instead
The
of a
1/5 instead of a 3/5. Honestly, don't care. I'm still picking it.
Yeah, I don't know that was necessary, but okay.
Apparently, the stats must have been good. I don't know if this
It's a
is
good
how you
card.
nerf this card.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a
Yeah,
good
okay.
card, but not because it's a 3/5. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
like
I don't
I don't
know.
think the base
Yeah,
stats are super relevant.
this is like someone told them they have to nerf the card, and they're like, I don't know what to do. So 2 points of power, that's gonna nerf the card, and then
It's
everyone's
like
like, why?
it's like the 3-drop that when spells first came out, the beast that whenever it died gave you a random tavern spell.
Yeah.
It was like a 6/3 or something when it first came out. That's like making it like a 2/2 or something. Like that doesn't matter. That's not why the card's good.
Yeah. Well, whatever. They basically didn't nerf it. It's fine. Bubble
Yeah.
Gunner. This one is weird to me. It went from a 3/2 to a 2/3.
Oh jeez.
Like why? I think that's better, by the way. Now that I think about it,
So what is it better against?
it's bad against the 3/3s, right?
It's better against bolt undeads.
Yeah, but which is way more picked, right, than the 3/3 elemental,
Yeah.
and that's like really
The 1/5 it's the same against. The 1/1 beast it's the same against.
yeah.
Same against 4/1 mana saber. I feel like it's better overall.
Yeah, that's what I feel. Because the most common thing is the undeads,
Mhm.
and
Or the 1/1 token,
yeah,
which it's the same against.
so just feels better. I don't know. I don't know if that's the goal of that change. I just don't understand it. I don't like. What's the point? I don't know.
Yeah. Who knows?
Same thing here. Like I don't who's doing these nerfs. Like what's the point of
Hang
this?
on, wasn't Fairy Guildmother originally a 1/5?
I think so. I don't
And
remember, but
I'm pretty sure it was a 1/5 originally, and then they buffed
they
it
buffed it and gave it
fairly
taunt. Yeah,
recently.
and gave it taunt. Yeah.
Yeah, and now
Uh,
they're just
They're
making it
like,
like
yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it
who cares?
either. Yeah. Bergurgle, they're nerfing for some reason. I don't understand this one either. Who plays this card? And
Uh,
who's looking at the stats and saying Bergurgle's the problem? First of all, Murlocs are the problem, and then Bergurgle's the problem. I don't understand it either. Peculiar change here.
Yeah, I think they said that there was a bug that it was only giving 3/3 and
Yeah,
stats.
they did say that. They did say that.
So I think this change honestly is
It's
just them
the
being
lazy
lazy.
change. Yeah.
They're like, oh, it's only giving 3/3. Okay, well let's just change it to give 3/3.
I
and
don't
figure out
want
what's
to
going
go
on.
in and fix the problem. I hear you. That actually sounds correct.
I'm actually pretty sure that's what it was. I don't think it has anything to do with the card itself.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Young Murkai is getting a quality of life change. So going from left of this to adjacent minion. So what I like about this is now you can put Young Murkai on the edge or in the front.
Yeah. It's easier to protect against cleave and have
kind of like
attack.
Rylak, essentially, because Rylak used to have I think a similar issue where it was like not adjacent, and then they changed it.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with this. I think it makes
Loc
sense.
Prince, what did they do?
It now is 2/1 and buffs
Damn,
2/1, so it
does
does Divine Shield. Yeah. I mean it's weaker.
Sure.
But it's still crazy. Still the best Murloc.
Yeah, it is a nerf.
It is a nerf, yeah.
The fact that it's a 2/1 now is not relevant, but the fact that it gives 2/1 instead of 2/2 is.
It's gonna be less tanky, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you can kill it, right? Because like when this thing is like 200, 200, or 400, 200, 400, it's like, ugh. Now it's gonna be 200, 100. Okay, now we're talking.
Now it only eats 2 of my minions instead of 3 or 4.
Yeah. It's a nerf. It's a start.
It is.
It's still broken. But
I still don't know why they don't just remove the Divine Shield from it.
I hear you.
Leave it the way it is, but it's whatever.
Corrupted Myrmidon is now a tier 4 instead of a tier 5. Basically, it loses some stats, but not that relevant. The most important thing with this being tier 4 is now you have a much easier time golding in it. So
that, and it's probably more playable with Slyther Spear in.
Yeah, you can eyes it. Like I can see it. Like there's it's now something you can pick on the board and think, oh, I can triple this and make this one of my win conditions, especially with Slyther Spear.
That's what, like, if you say you get to like an early 4 and
Yeah.
you have an empty board. If you see a Myrmidon and a Tavern, what's it called? The one cost spell that gives you that many stats based on your Tavern tier. So
Oh,
Tavern
the
Light or something.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
Either
Tavern
way, like, it's a
Lantern
six
Light.
six, right? So it's
Yeah.
Lantern Light, yeah. So it's 4 gold for a 12/12 on your board
Yeah,
whenever you don't have a full
pretty
board.
good, pretty good. Yeah, it's a good buff target for sure. Speaking of Slyther Spear's back, still a tier 6, but the big change is now it buffs itself. I've been asking for them to do this for ever since it was out in the previous season, and they were like, "That's too strong," and I laughed in my head. But now they're willing to try it. I do actually think it's kind of strong now, though. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot more spells you have access to. So I actually do think it's kind of strong, but I'm okay to try it. I think also you have both, like you have two good Naga 6 drops now, where so Nagas have a lot more options compared to like, oh, you need to hit Groundbreaker or you don't have a real board. Here you hit Groundbreaker or you can Groundbreaker or you can Slyther Spear and you have something to do. So I think Nagas are actually going to be pretty good now, in my opinion.
Yeah, so, like, pre-patch, it
Mm-hmm.
was, like, basically Naga boards ended up, for the most part, being, like, 3 big cards. You'd have, like, your Lava Lurker that you had in the early game that you scaled, and then you'd have, like, 2 Groundbreakers, and
I
then
would
the
sell
rest
my
of your
Lava
board.
Lurker. I'm going to be honest.
Sure, but, like, realistically, like, you maximum, you're gonna have, like, 3 big minions, right?
Sure.
And then the rest of your board is just utility, which is things that generate spells and economy and all that
Yeah.
stuff that are also usually Nagas. Now, with Slyther Spear, you can keep that utility, but that utility, instead of being 10/10s, are going to be, 50/50s or 80/80s. Like, they're actually going to be combat effective.
Yeah, I mean, and Drakari gets another happiness target.
Yeah,
So.
Drakari's kind of busted this
Yeah,
season.
yeah. Some people are still in the brand hype train, but I think for duos, Drakari just has a lot more options because
Yeah, Brand's still useful. I just
yeah,
think Drakari is
it's
better in
better.
more comps than Brand.
Yeah, I agree. Next up, we have Dual Wield Corsair. It's losing 1 health. I mean, 1 attack, 2 health.
Okay.
Does nothing. Honestly,
Yep.
still really good for pirates. So I don't.
Moving on.
Yeah. Recruiter is interesting. It's going from tier 5 to tier 4, which is pretty massive. And
Yeah.
now it summons 2 Scallywags. Also interesting, Golden one does not summon 4. It summons 2 golden.
Yeah,
So
that is interesting.
yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
What is this? Is this supposed to be a buff or a nerf?
Man, I don't know. I think they just needed to move something. They're moving Flagbur up, so they're moving.
So they moved to pirate. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
down,
So it's
yeah.
probably neither. It's
Just whatever.
okay. Sure. So
Um,
overall, they're trying to nerf. Well, no, are they trying to nerf the comp or are they trying to buff it? Because now it summons a Scallywag instead of summoning a 1/1 pirate.
oh, it's an absolute big. It's a huge nerf. It actually breaks the comp completely. It doesn't work right because it doesn't have it attacks immediately, and that completely breaks the comp. So it's a horror. Like you can't even do the comp anymore. It's just gone because the Scallywags don't attack immediately. So
Are they? So are they trying to aim it more towards Eliza?
I don't know the rationale. I'm gonna be honest. Like I don't think this was like a big problem comp. It was fun. Some people like to do it, but maybe I don't know. Like I don't know. It for some this kills the comp. It makes it less consistent. And yeah, you get a Scallywag, which is cool, but it doesn't attack immediately, so you don't get to like your things get sniped and all
Yeah.
that. So it's just
And like now, if you run Amalgam with Poet, you can put a bunch of Scallywags inside of it. But the whole appeal was to have like 20 attacks, not to summon 3 Scallywags.
yeah. So it's a lot. It's also tier 5, right? So it's harder to find, and it just doesn't. The comp is gone in essence. You can build it differently, but it doesn't do the same. It doesn't scale with what's it called, that one card with Titus as easily or Hawkstrider or anything like that. So um, Kind of sucks, but maybe we'll find a new version that's better. I believe in the ingenuity of the players.
Sure.
Find a new
Well,
strategy, copium.
we won't be the ones finding it, but if somebody else finds it, we will steal
Uh,
it. No, if
I,
somebody else finds it in our games, we will steal it. We will
I,
use it, and
I,
we will.
I am the type to be like, oh, it's bad now. Let me try it. Let me figure it out. That's me. So I might do it. I might find it, but if someone else, like, people have a head start on the meta than we do, so maybe. But yeah. Definitely an interesting change. Not happy for people that like playing this comp, but I didn't really like it. But I did like fighting against it because it wasn't very good in my opinion. But
Yeah, they're removing all the comps that we like to beat.
yeah, it's a bit sad. That was what they did last patch too. They just removed all
Yeah.
those like trash or bait cards, and it got better. All right, next up we have Salty Hog going from tier 6 to tier 5.
But
No
not
changing,
changing.
yeah. This
Wow.
seems. I thought this card was good before they removed it.
I thought it was a very fine card.
I thought it was actively good. So moving from tier 6 to tier 5, it seems crazy to me. Seems like, wow, this is gonna be really powerful.
You know what it
So
was?
what?
It was the reason I thought it was fine probably is because every time I was tripling for a 6, it was either to look for Hawkstrider or to look for the tier 6 pirate.
Mm-hmm.
And this is usually the card that I would miss into and be like, okay, fine.
I didn't mind running this. Like, this was just
Yeah.
So I run a lot of cards in my hand. I guess for me this makes sense because I'm the type of player that just has extra cards in my hand for no absolute reason. So for
This
me,
is a
like, I play this and this is like, oh, giving me like 10 like 8/8 a turn for no reason, right? So I was like, oh, free 8/8 a turn. Okay, I'll make it.
yeah. This is a reason to want to run Bran. Like this card.
Yeah, it just being on tier 5 just means you're gonna get it so much more, and it seems
Like
very strong.
okay, so given the choice,
Mm-hmm.
would you rather have a 4/9? Like, don't even take the tier out of it entirely, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just giving you one of these cards. Would you rather have a 4/9 Salty Hog,
Mm-hmm.
which is a Quilboar pirate, or would you rather have a 6/7 uh, Amalgam Tour group?
You're gonna give me the tour group. Um, See, the downside of the hog, it doesn't buff itself, right? But I do think it's a lot easier to proc
Much
the
easier.
the hog than it is to buff the Tor group, unless you're specifically focusing on the Tor group buff. So sometimes if you're focusing on a Tor group buff, you're making sure, oh, I need to buy high tier cards. You can force it and you can scale, and I've done some of the comps like that. But if you are just playing the game normally, hog will give you stats like without really having to try. Where Tor group you have to be intentional with, and it's a much easier to just have a card that you don't have to think about that gives you stats versus something that you have to spend resources or mental capacity on. So probably the Hawk, but I can see that Tor group is better if you intentionally play into it. But yeah, Hog is much like simpler, and I think that makes it better in most cases. It's also
Yeah,
tier 5.
my point is I think I would take the Hog too, to be fair. But my point is that I think they're about the same.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, moving it straight from 6 to 5 with no adjustments is like kind of scary. And
Yeah,
I can
like base stats wise, it's the exact same, right? It's 13.
Yeah.
So you can't even make like the tier stat argument. Like it's the same amount of tempo the moment that you put it on your board, and I think it scales roughly about the same as well.
I think they did this because they're like, oh, Salty Hog was too bad or whatever stat wise in terms of win rate at 6, and then they moved it to 5 and they didn't test it. Like, they didn't have any like high tier designer or whatever on their team like test this in a real life setting and be like, oh, this is too strong. Because that's what I feel like should be done. Like, hey, test this, please.
Yeah, like this is the kind of card that you can use with Nightbane to actually scale Nightbane, because you can get a Nightbane and a Salty Hog relatively early in a game.
Sure. Yeah. And then you can scale it. Yeah, it just seems really quite good. So we'll see, right? Maybe in the games it won't be good or won't be as good, but to me, looking at it, it looks very strong.
Yeah, agreed.
Next up, we have Gritty Headhunter. So they said they were nerfing this card. The nerf is the stats, which is it's just,
Sure.
yeah.
I mean, to be fair, a 5/4
It was
on
crazy.
Tavern
I
3 is
agree.
a large amount of
I
stuff.
agree. I agree. It was too much. I guess this is like fine. Like
Yeah.
this is
'Cause,
probably reasonable.
like, if you pick this up turn 5, which is usually the turn that you would have it, like whenever you put on your board, like generally you're always going to 1-for-1. Sometimes you're going to 2-for-1. So the fact that you're getting an economy card that usually gives you another minion the turn that you play it anyway, and the card itself would always 1-for-1, sometimes 2-for-1, was kind of absurd. Now you're happy if you 1-for-1 with a 4/2.
Yeah, it's still reasonable, but not some insane thing going on. So
Yeah, I think this is probably a good change.
yeah, probably the right stat. For
They
it.
either needed to do what they did, or they needed to keep it as a 5/4 and just move it up to Tavern 4, which would probably make it bad. So
yeah, I agree with that. Next up we have Boar Gamer. So Boar Gamer is going from tier 4 to tier 3, which is surprising. And then it's 2 turns instead of 1 turn. Ugh. Yeah. This was like my least favorite boar addition boar card add to your hand card, and now they're making it worse. So
yeah, well,
it is tier 3. It is tier 3. I guess that's true.
so the thing is
Mhm.
about this one, I would say like it's now almost identical to the elemental one on
The
Tavern 3, right?
elemental, yeah. It's better than that though, but
Is it?
yeah, because it has more use cases. You can always use this where the elemental one you kind of have to be like, I'm leaning in some elemental way. I'm not buying that for economy a lot of the time. I mean, maybe you might, but
Sure.
you end up selling it.
I'm looking at it more along the lines of like if you're playing elemental, anything with an elemental comp, right? Like Nomi or Ultraviolet or
Yeah,
Rack,
but
whatever.
I think you can always buy Board Gamer. That's my difference. Like so.
Yeah,
In
but the
my
thing is you might have this thing on your board for 3 turns, and all it's giving you is a flag.
stop it. That's how you curse yourself. This is giving me bountiful harvest every time. Okay, we're not no flags out here. But yeah,
Basically what they've done is they've made it easier to obtain early, but higher variance,
yeah,
which I think is fine. Like Quilboar needs a nerf. This is a
yeah.
nerf.
And this thing was giving you foodies like crazy. Honestly,
Yeah,
it's kind of strong.
Bountiful and Foodie were like the 2 most common cards off of this thing.
Yeah.
And I guess the ones that give you like 3 gems as well.
Trailblazer moving to tier 3. This one I understand because this card was like weak in my not worth tier 4 stats. Tier 3 stats I can absolutely see, so I'm okay with this.
This is a good tier 3.
Yeah, it was a good tier 4 technically if you had synergy, but I think it makes way more sense tier 3.
I think I skipped this card probably about half the time that I would see it on tier 4.
I think you skip it like every time. I'm the one sending it to you.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna spend 3 gold on it.
Okay, but all right, yeah. I was spent 4.
I think yeah, that's fine. Like that I'll take. But the tier 3, 4, 5 stat line in and of itself is usually good enough to just put on your board.
Yeah, and honestly, even if you're not Quilboars, you can find a use of choose ones. There are some cool choose one synergies as well. Makes another construct thing a little bit easier to do as well.
It makes it way easier to do.
Yeah. Foodie to tier 4. Wow. I didn't think they'd do it. Damn. All the scalars are on 4 then, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's gonna nerf Quilboars, honestly.
For sure. 100%.
Yeah. Okay, they actually nerfing Quilboars. Didn't think they'd do it. This is the biggest Quilboar nerf we've seen.
Yes.
In this patch here.
Although it does get 4 gems now instead of 3.
Yeah, that's irrelevant. That honestly, you don't even care. Like
for Trailblazer though, I mean,
I'd rather move this from 2 to 3. Well, I guess it wasn't a 2, but this is the old one anyways.
3 to 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. But I think this is a reasonable change.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Although I will say having 0 gem scaling before you get to Tavern 4 is
I'm okay with it. Honestly, Quilboars need a nerf, dude. You keep saying, hey, Quilboars, they love Quilboars, they don't nerf Quilboars. You see some nerfs, they're like, oh, this is too much. I'm like, nah, let them suffer. Let Quilboars be slightly weaker than they need to be for once. Like I'm okay with it.
I'm happy with Boar Gamer nerf. I think nerfing the Boar Gamer and the Booty is a bit.
I'm okay
weird.
with it. Personally, I'm okay with it. Let them suffer for a bit. But they're buffing Pokey. Slow down, slow down. They're buffing Pokey. Pokey's going from 1-1 to 1-2, which is actually meaningful. To be fair, you
is.
might play this.
If you could snag this early on Reno, you're getting 2/4 turn scaling.
Yeah. What is fungus? Yeah. Reasonable. Fungus is going from tier 5 to tier 4. You actually talked about this, right? You're like, would you play this if it was tier 4? You're like, maybe no. Now you get to test out your theory.
This was a couple weeks ago. We were talking about changes that we think like should be in the game, and like one of the I was like basically looking at the tier list of cards that are never used. One of them was the tier 5 demon that got buffed.
Tichondrius?
Yeah, one of them was Tichondrius. I said that one needs to be buffed because it never sees played. And then I was like, what else never sees play? Like I never see a fungus on anybody's board. And I was like, I wonder if it was a tier 4. Like, do you think that would be playable? I guess we're gonna find out.
Yeah, I said it might be. So yeah, it gets big honestly on tier 4.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time on tier 4, when you're still looking to kind of fill out your board,
it's pretty good.
You're gonna see it in the shop, and it's gonna be like what, a 12-14, a 14-16, and you'll be like, yeah, okay.
Underdog going buffing 3-1, so 2-1.
Sure.
I'm down.
I don't think it was a very good card.
I mean, it's a good gold like triple target if you have a full board. Maybe
That's
good
so
is a strong word. It was I don't know. It was there.
it's a card. You can buy it.
Yeah.
It's like
Would 3-2 be too much?
I would rather see it be 2-2, I think.
2-2, yeah. But 2-2 is a lot, right? Yeah. But then again, 2-2 is the same as the tier 4 spell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so maybe it'd be fine. And it's only 3 or lower, so you're not even. It's probably fine because 3 or lower means you're not dealing that much damage. So I actually probably be okay with it.
Most of the time, you're not buffing minions that are permanent minions on your board.
Yeah, I guess I could see 2-2 and be happy. Yeah.
Another arid change. I feel like this thing gets changed every major patch.
It was too strong, and then it's still too strong.
Apparently.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. 6/6 is kind of small. That means you kill 4 to 24 instead of 28. Yeah. 18 like instead of 21. That's ugly. I don't know. Kind of small.
It is an ugly style line, I will say that. Like, it's not going to be as aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like,
we weren't really using Arids much anymore, anyways.
Nobody was using Arid. Like, it was just the stupid thing that you tripled into on turn 7 or 8. You took for tempo because the other ones weren't direction.
Yeah. You used to be able to summon tons of them and win that way, but now it's not engaging. Yeah.
All this is like a turn 6, turn 7, turn 8, take 5 damage card is what it is. And now it's going to be a turn 6, turn 7, turn 8, take 5 damage card.
You take 6 damage.
Yeah, it depends.
Yeah. Well, no, you're on tier 5, right? So
if you're playing it, sure.
Yeah. I mean, 6 or 15, right? But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it seems unnecessary, but sure.
Yeah. Jug now gives 3/3 instead of 2/2.
I think that makes sense because the spell gives 3/3. So
that's true. The spell gives 3/3.
The argument is that this costs 2 gold, whereas the spell costs 3.
Nah, I'm not buying it. I'd rather it be 3/3. I'm okay with this.
The spell can hit more than 3 units.
Would you? What if this could hit all friendly minions of a different type?
I think it's probably too strong with things like Brand existing.
Yeah, probably. I agree, but I just wanted to throw it out there.
Because like, let's think about you could realistically hit 5 tribes then, right? So if you have a Brand 5x6, this card is 2 gold for 30/30 to your board.
I'd play
it. Yeah, I think that's probably a bit much.
Yeah, fair enough. Magnum is going to tier 5, so this is a duo specific change.
Thank goodness.
You're happy with it?
Yeah. So they've addressed
Murloc dragons and beast Quilboars.
2 of the 3 power tribes so far.
So the other one, probably the most important, is Naga,
Yeah.
Ellie.
Which means they either need to move up Storm Splitter or they need to move up the spell, or at the very least they need to make Eyes a 6-drop. Like one of those three.
Well, we've got Loyal Mobster is the next one. Moving from tier 5 to tier 6. So now it's a Chalga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Necessary. Very necessary.
Understandable, yeah.
I think Mobster was the single strongest card in Duos.
In Duos, yeah. By itself, yeah. I'd agree. So it makes sense. It's now on the tier that should have the strongest things. Makes sense.
Put it in context, we had a game the other day where my internet went out and I was gone for 4 turns. And I'm talking like 4 important turns. It was like turn 6, my internet went out. I didn't even have full board. I had like 5 minions.
You had 6 minions. 6
minions? Okay, I had 6 minions on my board. It was like turn 6. I got back like turn 10. We were still we hadn't lost a single fight. And we won the game without losing a fight. And my board soloed both of the final 2 opponents simply because Collins had a mobster.
I was playing the game. He left when I had enough things. Like he left before and played minions. That was all that was required of him. You know, I could take it from there. You played minions, my friend. Okay.
The point of the story is to tell you how stupid this card is.
Like, wait. The point of the story is Collins is good. You know, like that's
sure.
ignorant.
I think definitely a necessary. Ooh, Storm Splitter.
Yeah, Storm Splitter also getting changed from tier 4 to tier 5.
This is massive on so many levels.
Yeah, it's a big change for sure for duos.
So the biggest thing immediately is that it nerfs the most broken comp in the game.
Yeah.
Because you can't just be on 4 and get all the pieces.
Yeah.
And you can no longer eyes it.
So you have to find the pieces or play Reno or whatever. So
very happy with that.
So they addressed all 3 of the currently the meta strategies. They've added a few new ones with Herald and whatnot, probably, but at least it'll be a little bit better. And Herald, and it's tier 6, right? So it's whatever.
Yeah, I think the strongest comp in the game now is probably going to be Crasher.
It's still Quilboar, let's be honest. But
yeah. So let me be more specific. The strongest standalone comp will be Crashers. Because Quilboar has the upside of you, because Mobster, even though it's a 6-drop, it's still in the game, right? So like, you can still essentially buff both boards with Quilboar. But the strongest standalone comp in the game, I think, like just basically solo queue style, will be Crasher comp now, assuming that beasts are also in. Yeah, but you kind of needed them in anyway to play Crasher, so
it's not. I'm not too worried about that in duos. I feel like, you know, like there's a lot to do in those lobbies. Beast undeads, like there's a lot of different things you can play. And yeah, maybe Cash Crasher's the thing that wins the lobby, so someone has to play it. The other player gets to have fun, and you can still do scribes, hopefully.
Be sure to check out next week's video. I was wrong about Catacomb Crasher.
Sure, you're throwing out random titles now. Those are all of the Battlegrounds updates. It looks like there's some. Okay, look at this. Look at the bug fix.
The
Crasher, and the Abomination is they've assumed sped it up or made it that because this, especially Abomination, was so dumb. We were like individually trigger for every scaling. Oh my god, it took forever.
So it says to avoid associated performance issues. So I assume what that's going to do is get rid of hopefully get rid of the Catacomb Crasher, like lagging the entire combat.
Yeah, I hope it just triggers all the buffs at once instead of individually. Like I assume so. But yeah,
overall, pretty happy.
Okay, that's rare.
Well, I think going into it, there were 3 things that I cared about.
Mm-hmm. Duos. For duos.
It was the 3 main duos comps that were the Tavern 4 comps, and they addressed all 3. So I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah. There's some things that I'm concerned with for sure going forward, but overall, I think I'd give it like an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I think that's super fair. They didn't address Juggernaut, which is a little bit weird.
They did not.
They didn't address. They kind of addressed Quilboars, so
The thing with Juggernaut, though, I would say
it
is
requires a ton of pieces. Yeah,
it's multiple 5-drops
yeah.
to like you basically need 2 Juggernauts or Juggernaut plus Drakari to like see any
It's
kind of
tough.
like
Yeah, I agree with
high
that.
reward, and then beyond that, you need to have dragons in to make it really good, and then you kind of also really want beasts in to make it broken. So it's like it's very few lobbies will you see Juggernaut run away.
Yeah, I think that's super reasonable. So I'm not too sad about it as well. I think there's a lot of good stuff here that they addressed, and nothing too scary. I'm looking at the minion types and seeing if there's any that got shafted. I guess it's like any particular types that got shafted.
Well, they didn't address undead at all, right? Like they changed nothing for
No,
undead.
no. I mean, they added Herald, which is
Right, which is a buff to
yeah,
one of the undead counts
right.
specifically.
But other than that, I don't really think they changed too much. Poison scams are the same. Mechs are still kind of the same. Undeads are the same. Quilboar the same. APM pirates are the same. Um,
Mechs were
so
nerfed slightly.
sure, because of Holy Rover, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and Ticketer.
That's okay. Whatever. All right, buddy. But yeah, that's pretty much all the types. I'm pretty happy with the changes. I think they address a lot of the major pain points for duos.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and call it now
Yeah.
that we're going to be taking a lot of damage in the early mid game of dragon lobbies.
Oh, you think it's coming back?
Yeah, I'm fairly certain
Just
that
because
the
of Amber back to 3 is enough.
it's Amber back to 3.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fact that
Prize promo back to 4.
the Nightbane is back in the game.
Mm-hmm. But it's a tier
Um,
5, right? So it's a little hard.
it is, but I'm just fairly certain that people are going to be picking up promo drakes, Amber Guardians, Terragosas, poets, and then looking for the Stormbringer and for the
Right.
Nightbane to
Yeah,
transition into.
that's fair.
It just feels like we're going to be running into a lot of Divine Shield dragons in the mid game.
We'll see if we have to adjust due to that, but overall, like it's still better. The fact that Ellie Nagas are much harder to force, and they were the most frustrating. So, I'm fine with that. And Murloc dragons are weaker as well. Like none of the comps are gone. You know what I mean? Like none of the they didn't delete any of them. They're all there. There's just like now like some of the pieces are on tier 5. It's like the main change for all 3 of them, right? They moved Hunter to 5. They moved Magnum moves to 5, and they moved Stormsword to 5. So it's not like they're gone. There's just like now you need to either triple into the 5 to have an access, or you just need to like level the 5 and play it that way.
Yeah,
So,
but it's a lot better in the sense that
yeah, you
going
can't
into a
force it.
game,
Yeah.
okay, going into a game, you'd look at the tribes, and if, for example, Naga Ellie was in, then basically you have one win condition, and you know you have to hit those 2 specific cards to be able to win the game. Now that's not the case.
My problem was people could, let's say they needed Storm Splitter on the spell, they could literally get to 4 and then roll it down for like 4 turns, and if they hit it, they win. If they don't, they die, and they don't care. But we care because we needed like top 2 every game, so it hurts us if they hit it and they kill us. But if they don't hit and they die, it doesn't bother them because they're like, it's 30 MMR down. Like they didn't really bother. But for us, we have to be consistent.
Yeah,
So
I'd say like the worst thing in the game whenever you're like very high MMR and you're getting 25 for a first and you're losing 160 for a fourth is automatic win condition cards.
yeah, that are low tier.
Yeah,
Like,
that
and
are but
easy
like
to force. Yeah.
even in general, honestly, but like specifically like it's not inconceivable to on turn 10 or 11 have a full board of 800 if you're running Storm Splitter plus
Yeah,
or
Storm Splitter was the biggest outlier, I think, in terms of like you really had no chance. The other ones, they weren't scaling 10 minions, or so. Like they were maybe scaling 1 board or something like that. But the issue with Storm Splitter was like it also gave you infinite money. So
Yeah,
you
like if you pick up the Storm Splitter and you're still looking for the spell, it's still a great card because you're always going to get value every turn, no matter what.
Yeah, it's it's a
And then you
problem.
get eyes, and then you have 2 golden Storm Splitters because you found 1 eyes. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think
Also moving all the problem cards to 5 means that you can't storm split them.
yeah,
So,
no, 100%.
yeah. So like
You can't.
Moose was a
Eyes
good
them.
storm splitters target, and then Moose was a good ice target as well. So doing that as well. Hunter Gatherers was not really an ice target. Doesn't really matter, but still impactful.
I think that's more of breaking up the
the combo.
Loc Prince comp.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't really have a card that you want to eyes.
Efficient engineer. Honestly.
Sure, late game whenever you have like Drakari and Murkai and stuff. Yeah.
But overall, yeah, that's seems pretty good. That's our thoughts. Any final words? Anything like that?
No, I'm excited to be able to play it and see how much the meta actually changes in duos. Because my assumption is that people are just going to play more tempo than they have been before, but we'll see.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, see everyone. Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye.
Bye.